Hey guys, I'm in a cemetery again. One of the country's biggest cemeteries here in Poland. I like it. I like coming through here when I go running. There's a lot of crow action going on, a lot of blackbirds. Many would see this as a bit creepy, a bit weird, but I find it pretty peaceful. In any case, I'd like to talk about fasting. So there are obviously many different ways we can fast. We can hold off on something that we normally consume on a regular basis with quantity. Fasting has its benefits in allowing the body to do its thing when it's not given the thing that it expects all the time. And in this case, I'm fasting from food, which might not come as a surprise to many of you. I realised over the lockdown, although I've been trying to do as much exercise as possible, my face is starting to fill out a little bit, and I'm starting to see that gut growing. And I remember thinking back to about a year and a half ago, I spent over a month doing a 1 meal a day type of intermittent fasting, whereby I would only eat a carnivore diet, so cheese, meat, very lean, no carbs, no sugar, just coffee once a day, during a very constricted window of eating time, and for the rest of the day I would allow my body to sort of recuperate, as it does so well when I'm not eating. And so I'm doing it again. I'm not doing the OMAD at the moment because I prefer keeping the full day clear and having a clear mind going through the day, and I'm just trying to mix things up a bit. And I eat 5 or 6 p.m. and I eat a little bit in the morning as well, just sort of ensure that I'm not completely starving all morning. Obviously there are better ways of doing things and other ways of doing things and alternatives, so I'm just experimenting. But what I wanted to put forward for you guys who are interested in bringing in intermittent fasting into your life, it is helpful. For one thing, as I say, for those longer stretches when you're not eating, here comes a big truck, so I've got to get out of the way in a second. For those longer periods in the day when you're not eating, whereas most of us will snack and most of us will put something in our stomachs, and that will ensure that what the body does to break food down and to start eating away at the toxins and the things it doesn't want in the body, it usually doesn't really have a good chance of doing that for most people because we're too busy stuffing our faces with food. And the only opportunity that it has is overnight, which is a decent stretch. But if you can incorporate longer stretches into your day as well of not eating, you might drink coffee, you might have some liquids, but generally you want to keep foodstuffs out of your stomach so that the body can start breaking things down. And it does such a good job. This is what it's made for. And I think it harks back to how things were in the old days. I always look, if I'm ever confused about what's right, what I should do in terms of physicality and health, I refer a lot back to my ancient ancestors. Fitting, given I'm in a cemetery. I look back at, what were people doing back in the ancient times, and it's very likely that the more likely pattern of eating back in the caveman times, to put it bluntly. God, it's very active today with vehicles, this cemetery. Very, very likely that in the old days, people would go long stretches without food. They would have their hunt. They would gorge on the hunt, on the kill. God, I feel like I'm being surrounded at all angles here. And they would more likely have longer stretches when they were on a journey, for example, or maybe they didn't kit out their cave as well as they had hoped, and they would have to go for longer stretches with fasting. So the body is well equipped to knowing what to do when we are without food for long periods. The body is equipped for it. We have evolved through lots and lots of periods in our history when we didn't have any food for long stretches. And so what the body does is it tends to deal with that. Otherwise we would have died off. If we couldn't cope with not eating for long periods, the body would have killed us off. It wouldn't have been a reason to keep going. The body has built into itself a reason to keep going, and a reason and a means to deal with not eating enough. So not eating gives your body some time to break things down. There's a lot of studies and science out there around how toxins and toxic material is eaten into, and of course extraneous fat and body weight. And if you're overweight, fasting is a direct way to start encouraging your body to start eating itself and to start losing weight quite rapidly. And you'll notice this if you go any considerable stretch. And by the way, I'm not a doctor, so don't take any of this as scientific fact, but experiment for shorter periods. Perhaps maybe you want to do the 1 meal a day thing, where you just eat something lean, something low carb for a short period in the day, and you'll see your pounds falling off you. You'll see the weight coming off. And I noticed this for myself when I was in Georgia doing it for a month. My face was leaner, I felt healthier, my brain fog was completely gone, and I owe a lot of that to the reduction in carbs and the body being able to clear out the toxins, which are a source for me in terms of my own interpretation of cloudy thinking and slowness. And there are other benefits, of course, beyond losing the weight, which I want to mention. Clearer head through the day, more energy. If you've got enough food, especially if you gorge on something or you have a decent sized meal once a day, or if you haven't been eating for a while, I tend to find my communication is sharper. And it's not just like, oh, it's a coincidence, it's a direct relationship. When I haven't eaten for 3 hours plus, my mind is clearer, I'm sharper, I'm quicker to think, I'm more intelligent, I'm quick-witted, and this is why I have now brought fasting into my life kind of strategically. I don't want to tighten the screws too tightly in terms of like the amount of control I feel I need to have on my life and my habits, but I have found that if I know that something important's coming up, like an interview or a public speaking session, or I'm having to run a meeting, I'll usually hold off the food for a good few hours, and I'll combine that with exercise, and I'll combine that with meditation and maybe deep breathing. All of that accumulates to give you a really unfair advantage in terms of your own ability to connect, communicate, engage better. So there's that. If you guys have any form of anxiety, I used to sweat a lot when I was nervous in social situations, get really sweaty back, and it was really uncomfortable. Fasting is what I have seen to be one of the most powerful ways to deal with that kind of thing, to deal with like anxieties that come out of physical distress. And what I found over time was that the reason I was sweating so much is because I had too many carbs in my diet, and I tend to react more sensitively to carbs and sugar in my body, which is why I would sweat, why I'd get more anxiety than other people. And by cutting it out, or at least spending dedicating stretches of the day to not eating and to allowing my body to break things down, I found that I responded a lot better. I have a lot less anxiety in my life. So I know that I talk a lot about how we can influence our own psychology to improve our anxiety, but there's also a very strong physical element. And fasting is one tool you can use to start improving your health and to very directly see benefits day to day. So it doesn't even need to be seen as like a long-term thing and you'll never really see the benefits. No, you can see the benefits right away when you fast. You'll feel healthier, you'll feel sharper, you'll feel better. This isn't an opportunity here for you to, go for days and days without eating. I'm not saying that, but just experiment. Look into how you might incorporate intermittent fasting into your day. I really believe in it. At the very least, cut out those sugars and those carbs, which fasting does such a good job of helping us realize are not helpful. And I know that there'll be a few of you saying, well, what about vegetables? What about fruit? Well, I'm still not sold on their massive benefits, to be honest, if they have any benefits whatsoever. I know that's controversial, but I always find I have a stomachache when I eat vegetables and fruit, and I always feel like I feel better when I am just eating low carb, maybe a few potatoes here and there, and meat, cheese, dairy, organs. We'll talk about that in another one, but something to consider. Hope that made sense, guys. Greetings from Poland. Much love. Speak soon.